This video is gonna be a video on happiness and human consciousness. I'm gonna start by saying, from my personal experience, from observing human interaction and interacting with humans, and also being self-conscious of my own consciousness, I would start by saying most human consciousness wants to be around people that understands it, people that has its best interest at heart, people that supports it, um, people that supposedly it can be itself around without having to worry about being judged or being criticized, and people that's just it can be happy around, whether it's through conversation or through music or through creative arts or just taking a walk. So if you were to ask a human being what a happy environment is, I feel like most human beings would tell you an environment where people understands them, people have the best interest at heart, people support them, people is going out the way or going or attempting to uplift them. People are not judging the actions and the deeds and the behavior just for them being themselves. And people supposedly who they can enjoy the things they like around, like having a conversation, getting to know them, or just listening to music, or just going for a walk, or just doing some fun activity that make them happy. If you were to ask the human consciousness if they were in an environment like that, would they be happy? I feel like most human consciousness will say yes. And so, based off that thing, I feel like if you were to ask a human consciousness, me personally, would you rather have that, or would you rather have the lifestyle where you're having sex with multiple women a week? Me personally, I would choose the former environment because me personally, I'm at the state of mind where I understand that sex, even though sex is pleasurable, um, being in a relationship or being with somebody is more than just sexual interaction. And your own peace of mind and your own happiness is more than just sexual interaction. And I'm saying this because me personally, I've experienced supposedly. I cheated with my girlfriend in 2016, and one of the reasons I cheated was because I wanted to understand why it felt like to have multiple girlfriends and why it felt like to have sex with multiple people at the same time. So having experienced that situation, um, I'm able to understand that at the end of the day, sometimes just having sex doesn't lead to happiness. And by that I mean, if you're just having sex with random people, I mean, for you to be happy towards the end, at the end of the day, you have to find somebody among those random people who understands you, who gets you, who supports you, who accepts you for you, who wants to uplift you, and who just love you just because you are supposedly a kind or friendly or loving person too. And so, for me personally, I feel like if my conscience had to choose between being around somebody who understands me, who supports me, who has my best interests at heart, who is encouraging, who is also friendly, kind-hearted, compassionate, who supposedly don't mind being doing the things I like to do for fun, or just living a lifestyle where I'm wealthy and popular, and as a result can have sex with multiple women every night. I would choose the former, just me personally. And I would choose the former because for me, happiness is being in a happy environment. And a happy environment is being around people who understands you. who supports you, who likes you for you, who you can be yourself around without being judged or criticized for being yourself, so long as it's not harmful or unhealthy. People who is willing to participate in things that you like and maybe liking them too, finding out they like them too by participating in it, an open-minded person. And so I would choose that. I'll choose that environment over being wealthy, being famous, and just using that to have sex with anybody I want to have sex with every week. And so, based off that idea, and my understanding that sometimes happiness is cannot be found in just sex alone, just from my personal experience. I feel like I'm in a state of mind where I'm able to understand things a lot more clarity now that I've been able to like dissect my own thoughts, dissect my own behavior, dissect my own actions and deeds. And so another thing I want to mention too, you guys just came from watching the movie Marriage Story. I feel like most of the time relationship or just marriage fail because people are unable to express themselves, and they also assume that other people are supposedly are able to see reality through their lenses. All the people are able to. All the people are self conscious of how their actions are affecting them. That's one of and the last one is one of the things most intellectual also assume. They assume that people are able to understand their arguments and the concept and see reality from the perspective. Most human beings assume that, but the reality is most human beings on the surface of the earth are unable to see their own actions and how their actions are affecting other people. And it's because most human beings are unable to see their own actions and how their actions are affecting the people around them, they are not self-conscious of what they are doing. And because they're not self-conscious of what they are doing and how what they are doing are affecting other people, they are unable to change. And so I feel like sometimes the main reason marriages fail is just because the other person is assuming the other person is self-conscious of the actions and how the actions are affecting them and just not willing to change. But if the other person is not self-aware of those things, then communication is key, because if you're not communicating how the person's actions is affecting you in a negative way or bringing it to the person's attention, then the person technically, if the person are not self-conscious of what's going on, might not be able to change that behavior, the actions, and the deeds. And after a while, that can create a huge conflict within a marriage or in any relationship. And so I feel like human beings' inability to thoroughly express themselves, along with the personal bias that people are able to see their own action in these and how that affected them, is some of the main reasons why relationship and marriages fail. And so I feel like for relationship and marriages to be worked on, I feel like people have to be able to understand that all human beings are not self-conscious of their own actions and their own deeds and how their own action and deeds are affecting the people around them. And all human beings supposedly um, need to learn how to express themselves in a more kinder and civil way, and also learn how to be good listeners. Because if you're not a good listener, you're really not going to grasp when somebody's trying to express themselves to you or try to bring to your attention a problem. So for you to be able to grasp that through poor communication, you have to be a great listener, and you also have to be able to detach your detach your own personal feelings and your own personal perspective to try to understand other person's perspective. And so, because I'm self-conscious of all these things, and I'm self-conscious of supposedly what a happy environment is. I feel like I have more insight on certain things and human interaction, and so that's one of the reasons I'm making this video. And another reason too is just to try to help people understand why some people might be a fan of the having sex with different women every week lifestyle. That lifestyle is thrilling, which means it's not boring. It is also ego stroking and has a lot of self worth within it, self importance, make the person feel like they are valued, they are important, and they matter. So it's thrilling, it's ego stroking, it's also pleasurable, and it's also cool within our society. It's something that is cool, especially for guys. And it's also a form of social status or social importance or what's it called? Social power. And so because it's something that is cool, a form of social power, social importance, something that is supposedly ego stroking that has self worth and value attached to it, something that is pleasurable. I feel like, and something that is thrilling, that is not boring. I feel like it's a lifestyle that is very attractive to most people, especially guys. And so guys really don't mind living that lifestyle. At one point in time, I kind of wanted to experience that lifestyle too. Like I said, one of the reasons I cheated on my girlfriend in 2016, because I wanted to understand, to experience that lifestyle, to see what was so, what's it called? What was so exciting about it. So I kind of understand why some people might be supposedly interested in it, and why some people might just be unable to break away from it. But I feel like at the end of the day, if somebody who is living that lifestyle, if they come into contact with somebody who they supposedly um who they supposedly have deep feeling for, and that person supposedly are able to understand them, supposedly that person is able to so the person is able to understand, and the person has their best interest at heart. The person is supposedly um also like the same things they like. The person also is open minded, kind, compassionate. The person is also is good person. Person is able to converse with them, make them feel emotions, just the conversation that they normally don't feel. I feel like if somebody who's living a lifestyle to come into contact with someone like that, I feel like that person will be conflicted, because that person will have to acknowledge and ask themselves, is this lifestyle um is a lifestyle more is a lifestyle worth living more than me being happy, or me being in a happy environment. And so the fact that a human consciousness that have been living that lifestyle might be conflicted if it were to come into somebody who supposedly can create a happy environment for them, and supposedly is able to pleasure them too. I feel like at the end of the day, the things that most human consciousness rather value, rather ones from life or from their community or from their own household, it's just the presence of somebody who's open minded, somebody who understands them, somebody who supports them, somebody who has the best interest at heart, somebody can be themselves around without having to worry of being judged or criticized for being themselves, so long as it's not unhealthy. Somebody who supposedly like the things that they like, somebody they can have fun around. So I feel like since those are the things the human consciousness really is looking for, from my personal perspective, then I feel like just the way we have designed our society, technically It's in a design that is designed to lead people to happiness, because within our society we have designed it around um, money, self-interest, pleasure, and supposedly um, social status through intellect, creativity, physical talents. So because of, because we have to design our society around those things, we are supposedly nurturing people to believe that happiness are within those things. And yet, if we were to analyze the situation clearly and analyze our own consciousness and try to dissect what happiness is for our consciousness, we will see that happiness for our consciousness is being within a happy and healthy environment. An environment that is understanding, an environment that has its best interests at heart, and an environment that is supporting of its goals, its dreams, an environment that is open-minded, that it can be itself within without being judged or criticized, so long as its actions and deeds and thoughts and behavior are unhealthy or a danger to other people. An anxiety that it can do the things it loves to do without supposedly being looked at as an outcast, or supposedly being unable to find anyone else that likes those things too. And so I feel like based off all those ideas and all those concepts, I feel like the design of our current society and the design of what we have attached happiness to within our society is supposedly very dangerous, because it's not leading us to a happy environment. And if we are not on the path to a happy environment, it means that we are not on a path to a happy future, or a future where human beings can stop a future where human beings can just live in peace, live among one another without any hate, negativity, violence, and stuff like that. And so I feel like we have to we have to we all have to take some time to have some deep conversation with ourselves, to try to understand what happiness is for us, and how we can get to that, and how we can get to that perspective of happiness. And so, me personally, from my personal perspective, like I said, um, I prefer to be in a happy environment over a trading pleasurable lifestyle, even if come with fame, power, and money. And so, that's basically me saying that me personally, I prefer to be in love with one person, settle down with that person, have a family with that person, instead of living the thrilling, pleasurable, ego stroking, cool, and social status lifestyle that we see within we see on the television sometimes, within the music industry and stuff like that. And so this was just a video expressing my perspective on what happiness could be for the human consciousness, and what happiness is for my consciousness, and why that I might prefer some people might see a lame lifestyle to the cool lifestyle on TV that our society is designing for us. And so that's all for now.